Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Mrs. Sakonde Hesse. I want to present the SS2 Economics Week 6 first period, and the topic is elasticity of demand. Alhamdulillah, last lesson we've been able to treat the meaning and types of both demand and supply. Now I want to look at the meaning and types of elasticity of demand for this week. Elasticity of demands is simply defined as the degree of responsiveness of demand to little change in price, income, and price of other commodity. The degree of responsiveness of demand to little change in the price, income, and price of other commodity. This definition is general, as in it's meant for the three types of elasticity of demand that we have. So generally, elasticity of demand is meant to measure the degree of responsiveness of demand to change in the price, income of consumer, and price of other commodities. So this elasticity of demand measures the extent to which the quantity of a commodity demanded by consumers changes as a result of little change in the price, as in whether the price increases or decreases, change in the income of the consumer, whether their income increases or decreases, and price of other commodities. That is, there are other commodities that perform the same function as the commodities in charge. So let's look at the types of elasticity. There are three types, as I've said earlier. We have price elasticity, income elasticity, and cross elasticity of demand. I used to tell my students that the definition given here as for elasticity of demand can be referred to as the surname for the three types. The surname that combine the three of them together. That is the degree of responsiveness of demand to change in the price, that is price elasticity of demand, income, then income elasticity of demand, and price, that is price elasticity of and price of other commodity, and that one is referred to as the cross elasticity of demand. So let's look at the types one after the other. For price elasticity of demand now, price elasticity of demand is defined as the responsiveness, the degree of responsiveness of demand to little change in price of goods and services or commodity. The degree of responsiveness of demand to little change in the price of goods and services or that of the commodity. So this definition now, we pick the definition from the general definition given to the elasticity of demand, but in relation to what? Price only. Don't forget the definition given for the elasticity of demand combined the three of them together. So the definition to be given to each of them will be in relative to each type we have mentioned earlier. So price elasticity of demand here measures the ratio of the percentage change in quantity demanded to the percentage change in price. It is the ratio of the percentage change in the quantity demanded to the percentage change in price. So this price elasticity of demand is also known as the coefficient of price elasticity. Let's look at its types. 1. Elastic demand. Elastic demand. Demand is said to be elastic if a small change in price leads to a greater change in the quantity of goods demanded. I repeat, demand is said to be elastic if a small change in price leads to a greater change in the quantity of goods demanded. So here, elasticity is greater than 1. It's greater than 1 but less than infinity. So elastic demand can also be referred to as fairly elastic demand. There is a graph to explain, to demonstrate this one, and it can better be demonstrated on the board, inshallah. So what we should take note in each types of price elasticity of demand is their value. So that when we get to the calculation aspect of it, um we won't find it difficult. So elastic demand is greater than 1. When demand is elastic, its elasticity is greater than 1 but less than infinity. Take note, please. Number 2 is inelastic or fairly inelastic demand. Inelastic or fairly inelastic demand. So demand is inelastic if a larger change in price brings about small or slight change in quantity of goods demanded. Demand is said to be inelastic if a larger change in price leads to a small or slight change in the quantity of goods demanded. This one, larger change in price might be that the price reduced drastically. Despite the reduction in price, the quantity demanded is just a bit increase, whereas a larger reduction in price supposed to be a larger increase in the quantity of goods demanded, but the case here is not like that. It brings just a slight change, and the larger change in price might be increase in price as well. So this one leads to just a slight or small change in the quantity of goods demanded. So in this case, elasticity is greater than 1 but less than 0. Elasticity is less than 1, but it is greater than 0. That is elasticity of demand here. When demand is fairly inelastic or inelastic demand, elasticity will be greater than 0 but less than 1. So it is also known as fairly inelastic. As I've said, there is graph to demonstrate this one too, but I don't want to use hand here to make us get the accurate information that we need from the graph. The number 3 is unity or unitary elastic demand. Demand is said to be unitary when a change in price leads to an equal change in the quantity of goods demanded. Demand is unity or unitary elastic when a change in price leads to an equal change in the quantity of goods demanded. That is, a situation whereby a 5% change in price will lead to a 5% change in demand. So in this case, elasticity is equal to 1. Elasticity is equal to 1. All this information will be needed in the mathematical approach to this elasticity, the measurement. Number 4, perfectly elastic demand. Perfectly elastic demand or infinitely elastic demand is when a change in price brings about an infinite effect. A change in price brings about an infinite effect on the quantity of goods demanded. That is, a slight increase in price can make consumers to stop the purchase of such commodity, while a slight decrease in price can make consumers to purchase all the commodities. So in this case, elasticity is equal to infinity, meaning that it cannot be predicted here. The quantity demanded cannot be predicted because it is equal to infinity, and the graph explained that better too. So the graph explained that better. Inshallah, we'll treat those graphs when we meet. Number 5, perfectly inelastic or zero elastic demand. Demand is said to be perfectly inelastic if a change in price has no effect whatsoever. A change in price has no effect whatsoever on the quantity of goods demanded. So in this case, elasticity is equal to zero. Elasticity is equal to zero. Measurement of elasticity of demand now. Elasticity of demand can be measured or calculated by using the coefficients of price elasticity of demand. So the formula is elasticity of demand, popularly referred to as ED, equal to percentage change in quantity demanded all over percentage change in price. Percentage change in quantity demanded all over percentage change in price. That is, the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, where this represents percentage and change, QTYD represents quantity demanded, and P representing what? Price. Before we move into the calculation aspect, let's note that when elasticity is equal to zero, elasticity of demand is unity or unitary. When elasticity is greater than 1, elasticity of demand is elastic, as I've said earlier. When you find your answer, when you are given a calculation and you get your answer to be less than 1, meaning that elasticity of demand is inelastic. And when elasticity is equal to 0, that means elasticity of demand is 0 or perfectly inelastic demand. Let's take note of this information, because at the end of each calculation you'll be asked to state categorically the type of elasticity of demand you have arrived at using your answer. So if your answer is equal to 1, so elasticity of demand is unity or unitary. When you find your answer to be greater than 1, elasticity of demand is elastic. When you find your answer to be less than 1, elasticity of demand is inelastic. And when it is equal to 0, that means elasticity of demand you've just calculated is 0 or perfectly inelastic demand. Example now. The price of bread in 2002 was increased from 40 naira to 50 naira, and the quantity bought per week increased by a consumer decreased because the price has changed, has increased as well. So the quantity demanded decreased from 160 loaves to 80. You can see the rate at which there is reduction in quantity demanded. So we are to prepare the data in a table. 2b, we should calculate the coefficient of price elasticity of demand. That is to calculate the elasticity of demand. And lastly, to state the type of elasticity in this question and how did we arrive at our conclusion. That is, we should give the reason. If you say your elasticity is elastic, why? If it is inelastic, why? If it is perfectly inelastic, you should state reasons for your conclusions. So first thing first, we prepare the data in the table. We have price in naira, we have the quantity demanded in loaves. So when price is 40 naira, the quantity of loaves of bread demanded is 160 loaves. And when price is 50 naira, the quantity demanded is just 80. So back to the formula. We've been told here that the formula ED is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded all over percentage change in price. So in this case, we will have to find the percentage change, the value of the percentage change in quantity demanded first. And this one has its own formula too. So also percentage change in price has its own formula as well. So we will take them separately. By arriving at the answer for percentage change in quantity demanded separately. you arrive at you get the answer for percentage change in price as well. So percentage change in quantity demanded formula is equal to change in quantity demanded all over old quantity times 100/1. Change in quantity demanded here indicates old quantity minus new quantity all over old quantity multiplied by 100. This is the real formula, but this formula can be twisted in a situation whereby the new quantity given is greater than the old, to avoid a negative answer. So we'll treat example on such as well. But the real formula is old quantity for the percentage change, for the change in the quantity I'm referring to now. Change in quantity, that is difference between old quantity minus new quantity all over old quantity times 100/1. So in this example now, let's go back to the table. Old quantity is 160. That is when the price is cheaper at the rate of 40 naira. Old quantity is 160. When the price increases to 50 naira, new quantity demanded now is 80. So back to that. So as I've said earlier, old quantity 160, new quantity 80. So change in quantity demanded now will be 160 minus 80 all over 160 multiplied by 100. 160 minus 80 all over 160 multiplied by 100. This will give us 160 minus 80 will give us 80 all over 160 times 100/1, and this will be 800 all over 160. 800 all over 160. So it will be 800. When we take away 80 from 160, that will be 80 over 160 times 100/1. So 0 cancel 0 from 80 and 160. So we have 8 all over 16 times. We have 8 all over 16 times 100/1, and that will be 800 divided by 16, which will give us 50%. 50%. For change in price, that is for percentage change in quantity demanded. So Roman figure 2 now, percentage change in price. This one formula is also the change in price there will be, as I've said earlier now, that the circumstances will determine as we can see, the old price now is 40 and the new price is greater than the old price. So in this case, we are going to change the formula to new price minus old price all over old price multiplied by 100. As you can see, new price now is 50 naira, old price is 40 naira. So 50 minus 40 all over 40 multiplied by 100. This will give us 10 over 40 multiplied by 100. So when you cut the 0, you have 1 over 4 times 100, and that will give us 25%. You have known the percentage change in quantity demanded to be 50%. Then you've just calculated the percentage change in price to be 25%. Therefore, go back to your formula. Coefficient of price elasticity of demand, ED, will be that is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Don't forget, we've calculated our percentage change in quantity demanded to be 50%, percentage change in price 25%. So using those value now, we have 50% divided by 25%. That will give us 2, meaning that our elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand, is equal to 2. So that is to answer B part of the question. C part says, what type of elasticity is this and how did you arrive at your conclusion? As we've been told here, Thou should take note that when elasticity equal 1, elasticity is unitary. When it is greater than 1, it is elastic. When it is less than 1, it is inelastic, and so on like that. It's this information that we need now. So as the case is now, our elasticity we've just calculated is greater than 1, meaning that elasticity of demand here is elastic. So back to the question, to the solution now. So C, to answer question C, the coefficient of elasticity of demand is elastic. That is the first part of the question. How did we arrive at our conclusion? It is elastic because elasticity is greater than 1, as we can see from our answer. Our ED is equals to 2. Our ED is equal to 2. So for this first period, this is where we are going to stop, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.